I've got an idiot-proof cheesecake recipe for you. Hold on tight and I'll show you how. G'day guys, how's it going? Welcome back to Same Kitchen, where I share with you recipes that's always on budget and environmental friendly. So I got a family dinner coming up just tonight and I have about 12 people attending. I've set up a few things and one of them is dessert. So I'm going to show you a cheesecake that everyone can be making at home that is no fuss, super easy, relatively cheap to make, and it looks so impressive and complex than what it actually takes to make. So I'm talking about Basque or burnt cheesecake. So normally that cheesecake's main ingredient is cream cheese. So when I was out shopping last week, I happened to stumble across these. People are giving these away for free because they were just one day before the expiry date. And based on my experience, camembert or brie, they actually do last for a while after expiry date as well. So instead of using cream cheese, I'm going to try to use camembert in today's Basque cheesecake. So join me on the journey and we'll see how it turns out. Before we get into the recipe, I would really appreciate if you can give the like button down there a gentle poke so we can promote these budget-friendly recipes out to your wider audience. Thank you so much for doing that and let's get cooking. To make our Basque or burnt cheesecake, we're going to need some basic ingredients. Start off with some soft cheese here. I'm going to give this free camembert a go, but generally, cream cheese will work out cheaper and likely yields a better result. Next, we're going to need half the weight of our cheese in heavy cream, followed by some eggs, some sugar, and some salt. Yes, some savouriness in desserts is always a good idea. And then, the last thing on the list, some flour to help us set the cheesecake. It's a super basic cake to make with super basic ingredients. The ingredients and ratio of this recipe is broken down into civilized units, aka metrics, so you can chop and change to suit the serving size that works for you. Feel free to take a screenshot and save it to your phone for later. We'll put these aside and get started. So the biggest difference between camembert or brie and cream cheese in terms of texture is that the priors are surface ripened, so they've got a layer of rind on the outside as opposed to being consistently soft as a whole. When breaking open a wheel of camembert, you'll see the difference in texture where it's nice and soft on the inside but coated with a layer of white mold on the exterior. In order to use it for our Basque, I want to mimic the texture of cream cheese. So I'm cutting it up and breaking it down and hoping that I can just chuck it all in the stand mixer, beat it up to homogenize it. And obviously, this step is totally unnecessary if you're just using cream cheese. The only thing to note down is to make sure your cream cheese is at room temperature to make it easy to work with. I then bring it over to the stand mixer, switch out the dough hook and replace it with the beater. Put it in the mixing bowl and turn it on low. In contrast to my naive expectation, the whole cheese mixture is just sliding around in the bowl and did absolutely nothing. I then resolved it to my backup plan and just blend it all up in the food processor. As you can see here, this is where I had my first concern. The texture is definitely not as smooth as normal cream cheese, but I stuck to it and just kept going. Meanwhile, we definitely want to turn on the oven on fan force and then preheat it at 220 degrees Celsius. Coming back to our cheese, now we want to finish making our cake batter. If you're using cream cheese, after beating it soft, the rest of the recipe is identical, so do follow along. Get our soft cheese in the mixing bowl again. To reduce any residual food waste, a spatula is your best friend to scrape things clean. With 1.2 kilos of cheese, we want 400 grams of sugar. That is 100 grams of sugar per 300 grams of cheese. Next, we want 6 eggs. That is... Yep, you guessed it, 1 egg per 200 grams of cheese. The reason I'm doing all these and make it easily workable whole numbers is that I'm just so sick of recipes that gives you 25 grams here and 62.5 grams there. That just makes it so hard to scale. I can't be the only one, right? Leave a comment down below and tell me your thoughts. Next, we want 600 grams of heavy cream for 1.2 kilos of cheese. Optionally, you can add in some vanilla extract here to give it more depth. Also a pinch of salt if using cream cheese. That is almost everything apart from a little bit of flour that is needed later on. We'll move over to the stand mixer and mix it all up. Hook it all up, turn the mixer on until all is mixed and consistent, and then we want to add in a couple of spoons of flour to help set the cake. Just a tiny amount will do, and this is the consistency you're looking for at the end. Once all mixed through, we'll go and prep our cake tins. I personally don't actually own any cake tins at home as they're just too single purposed and they only get used once in a blue moon. I do, however, find my cast iron pan and Dutch oven perfect for this recipe. We're going to line our pan and pots with baking paper or grease-proof paper. We'll need 2 layers per pan to prevent any leakages. If you're using baking paper, you can use them as it is. They generally are coated with silicone and non-stick. I've got some grease-proof paper here, so I have to coat it with some cooking oil to make the non-stick. Fold down the edges of the paper so they don't burn when they're being baked in the oven. Next, we want to pour our cake batter into the lined pan. One thing worth noting is that the cake will gain about 50% of its current height when being baked, so make sure to leave a little bit of headroom and not fill it all the way to the top. I actually ended up having enough batter to make 2 cakes. So if you're just feeding 4 to 5 people, half this recipe will do wonders. Now the only thing left to do is to pop these in the oven and bake at 220 degrees Celsius for 30 to 40 minutes. The cake should sit in the middle shelf of the oven, and as it rises, the top will get brown and burnt, hence the name burnt cheesecake. After pulling the cake out, it should still be nice and wiggly like what you can see here. That just tells you that the middle is still nice and moist. Leave the cake in the mold to cool down and you'll see the middle of the cake collapse as it sets. After it's all cooled down, pull it out of the pan and the parchment paper should be nice and easy to peel off. The golden color of the cake with slightly burnt top gives it a good amount of bitterness to go with the sweet, savory flavor. The cost breakdown is as below. I got the 1.2 kilos of camembert for free, but if it was cream cheese, that is $15.84 at $13.2 per kilo. 400 grams of sugar and $1.1 a kilo equals to 44 cents. 6 eggs at $3.50 a dozen equals to $1.75. 600 grams of heavy cream at $5.70 a kilo equals to $3.42. 2 tablespoons of flour is about 3 cents. Altogether, 2 cakes costing me $5.39 to make, that is $2.69.5 per cake. If I had to buy the cream cheese, that would still be under $10 per cake.
Alright, and there we have it. We've got our Basque or burnt cheesecake done here. I've actually made 2 today and I found out the Dutch oven worked out to be a lot better compared to the flatter cast iron pan. Cut a slice here. I'm going to bring the rest to the dinner tonight, but yeah, I'm going to dig in and let you know how it tastes like and to see if camembert actually cut it or if cream cheese is actually a better choice here. It works. You can still tell that the flavor is slightly different. Alright, let's play a game. We'll see tonight if anyone picks up that this is actually camembert and to see if there's anything different about this cheesecake. To be honest, I'm 80-90% happy with it. Maybe just because I made it and I'm a little bit more biased given that the rind of the camembert makes it a little bit less smooth, but to be honest, it's still a pretty good cheesecake with a bunch of flavor in here. And me, not really a baker, like this is such an easy recipe that almost everyone can do at home. You don't really need a cake tin, like a Dutch oven works perfectly just fine and it turned out to be gorgeous. I would say the flavor is more leaning towards the savory side compared to cream cheese, just almost has no flavor. But it's still a pretty good cheesecake and I would totally do this again. Anyway, I had a lot of fun making this cheesecake and it's literally one of the easiest cheesecakes that you can make. Basically just mix everything all together, pop it in the oven, and then as long as you don't overcook it, it will stay nice and moist. That's all I've got to say about today's recipe. If you enjoyed the video today, make sure you give it a like and maybe consider subscribing. I have a video coming out every 2 weeks. All of them are super budget friendly and environmental friendly. Thank you so much and I will see you in the next one.